Diana Taurasi benched. Caitlyn Clark left at home. Empty stands at the Olympics. Is this the shakeup women's basketball needs? Or is it a sign that something's seriously wrong? Here's the thing, Diana Taurasi, the WNBA legend, scored just 3 points against Nigeria. You read that right, 3 points. This isn't some weird typo or a bad dream, it's the cold, hard truth. Remember when Taurasi was the unstoppable force of women's basketball? The player who'd been lighting up Olympic courts since 2004? Well, that streak just hit a brick wall. For the first time in her Olympic career, Taurasi didn't start the game. It's like watching Superman struggle to lift a car. But wait, there's more. We're about to dive into a rabbit hole of controversy, team selection drama, empty seats, and angry fans. You might be wondering how deep this goes. Trust me, it's deeper than you think. Are you ready to see just how messy things have gotten in women's basketball? Let's talk about Caitlyn Clark, the rising star who's got everyone talking. She's the player who just lit up the WNBA All-Star game with 10 assists. That's right, 10 assists in her rookie showcase. But guess what? She's not going to the Olympics. Team USA left her off the roster. Now, you might be thinking, wait a second, how does that make any sense? Well, that's the million-dollar question. Team USA went with experience over current form. They chose Diana Taurasi, who scored a grand total of 3 points in her last 3 games, over Clark, who's been tearing up the court, and it's like choosing a rusty old truck over a brand new sports car. Sure, the truck's been reliable in the past, but can it still get the job done? Meanwhile, the sports car is revving its engine, ready to go. Fans aren't happy about this decision, not one bit. Social media has been blowing up with comments from angry supporters. One fan said, "Diana Taurasi shouldn't have made the team for real. Glad they gave her the chance to get another gold at the same time they took one from Caitlyn Clark." Ouch! That's gotta sting. Another fan didn't hold back either. "I love Diana Taurasi, but her time has passed. Caitlyn would have been a great asset." It's clear that people are frustrated. They're seeing a young talent sidelined while a struggling veteran gets the nod. But this isn't just about one player. It's about the future of women's basketball. Team USA's decision is reshaping how fans engage with the sport. People are questioning the selection process. They're wondering if the team is more interested in rewarding past glory than building for the future. Think about it. Clark's not just a great player, she's a crowd puller. Her games draw attention, fill seats, and get people talking about women's basketball. By leaving her off the team, USA Basketball might be missing out on a chance to grow their audience. And speaking of audiences, that's where things get really interesting. Remember how I mentioned empty seats earlier? Well, buckle up because we're about to dive into that mess next. The attendance numbers for Team USA versus Nigeria are in, and let's just say they're not pretty. But before we get to that, let's think about what this Clark situation means for women's basketball as a whole. Are we seeing a shift in how the sport is perceived? Are fans demanding more say in team selections? And most importantly, how might this affect future Olympic teams? Picture this, Team USA versus Nigeria, Olympic basketball. The stage is set for an epic showdown. LeBron James and Michael Phelps are in the crowd, adding some serious star power. You'd expect the arena to be packed, right? Fans fighting for every last seat to watch the best of the best in women's basketball. But that's not what happened, not even close. Only 12,436 fans showed up. Let that sink in for a second. 12,436 for an Olympic event featuring WNBA stars. It's like throwing a party and half the guests decide to stay home. This isn't just low, it's shockingly low. We're talking about the lowest attendance among all teams in the opening games of the Olympics. It's the kind of number that makes organizers break out in a cold sweat. So what's going on here? Why are fans staying away in droves? Let's connect some dots. Remember that whole Taurasi Clark controversy we just talked about? Turns out it might be more than just Twitter drama. Fans are frustrated and they're voting with their feet, or in this case, their empty seats. Think about it. Caitlyn Clark, the rising star who's been lighting up courts and drawing crowds, is sitting at home. Meanwhile, Diana Taurasi, who's been struggling lately, is on the team but barely making an impact. Fans aren't just disappointed, they're downright angry. One fan put it bluntly on social media, if Caitlyn Clark had been included in the lineup, attendance could have been significantly higher. Some are even saying the crowd could have doubled. That's a bold claim, but it shows just how much pull Clark has with fans right now. But it's not just about one player. This low turnout is a warning sign for women's basketball as a whole. It's like a canary in a coal mine, telling us something's not right. Let's break it down. Low attendance means less excitement, less media coverage, and ultimately less money coming into the sport. It's a vicious cycle that can be hard to break, and here's where it gets really interesting. This attendance disaster could have some serious long-term impacts on women's basketball. We might be looking at a total shakeup in how teams are selected and marketed. Think about it. If star power and current form start driving ticket sales more than experience, we could see a shift in how Olympic teams are put together. Maybe we'll see more emphasis on bringing in fresh talent that can fill seats, even if it means benching some veterans. As for marketing, this could be a wake-up call. Maybe it's time to rethink how women's basketball is promoted. Are they targeting the right audience? Are they showcasing the right players? These are the kinds of questions that keep marketing execs up at night. But let's not forget the bigger picture here. This isn't just about ticket sales or marketing strategies. It's about the future of women's basketball. It's about growing the sport and inspiring the next generation of players. Because here's the thing, empty seats don't just look bad on TV. They can discourage young players from pursuing the sport. Why dream of playing in front of packed arenas if those arenas are half empty? On the flip side, this could be the kick in the pants women's basketball needs. Maybe this is the moment that forces everyone to step back and say, we need to do better. Maybe this is what pushes the sport to evolve and grow in new ways. But one thing's for sure, something's gotta change. Whether it's how teams are selected, how games are marketed, or how the sport engages with fans, women's basketball is at a crossroads. Remember when we talked about Diana Taurasi's shocking three-point performance? Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. We're not just talking about one bad game. We're talking about a legend potentially facing the end of her career. Think about other sports greats who've been in this position. Remember Shaquille O'Neal's final seasons? The big man who once dominated the court was suddenly struggling to keep up. It's like watching a lion in winter. Still powerful, still respected, but no longer the king of the jungle. That's where Taurasi finds herself right now. She's been the face of women's basketball for so long, it's hard to imagine the sport without her. But Father Time is undefeated, and even legends have to face him eventually. Now, you might be thinking, surely Taurasi sees the writing on the wall, right? Well, here's where it gets interesting. Taurasi recently said, winning gold was all that mattered to me. That's a pretty telling statement. It's not about personal glory anymore. It's not about being the star. It's about the team, about the medal. But what does this mean for Taurasi's future in the sport? Is she ready to step back and let the next generation take the reins? Or is she going to fight tooth and nail to keep her spot? This isn't just about Taurasi though, it's about Team USA as a whole. How long can they keep relying on veterans when there's young talent chomping at the bit? We've already seen the fallout from leaving Caitlyn Clark off the roster. Fans are angry, attendance is down, something's gotta give. So what happens next? Well, that's the million-dollar question. We could be looking at a major shakeup in how Team USA selects players. Maybe we'll see a shift towards younger, more dynamic players who can fill seats and generate buzz. But here's the thing, you can't just toss aside veterans like yesterday's newspaper. These are the players who've built women's basketball into what it is today. They've earned respect and they deserve a chance to go out on their own terms. So how do you balance that respect with the need for fresh talent? It's like trying to renovate a historic building. You want to preserve what makes it special, but you also need to make it functional for today's world. One possibility is a mentorship program. Imagine Taurasi taking a young player under her wing, passing on her knowledge and experience. It could be a way for veterans to stay involved while gradually stepping back from the spotlight. Another option is a more gradual transition. Instead of benching veterans outright, give them reduced roles. Let them contribute in key moments, but don't rely on them to carry the team for 40 minutes. Or maybe it's time for a complete overhaul. Bring in a new generation of players, build the team around them, and let them forge their own identity. It's risky, but sometimes you need to take big swings to hit home runs. Whatever happens, one thing's for sure, women's basketball is at a crossroads. The decisions made in the next few years will shape the sport for decades to come. Think about it. If Team USA goes all in on youth, we could see a completely different style of play. Faster, more dynamic, maybe even more exciting, but we'd lose the experience and poise that veterans bring to big games. On the flip side, if they stick with the old guard, they risk alienating fans and stunting the growth of young talent. It's a delicate balance, and there's no easy answer. So where does this leave Diana Taurasi? Is this the end of the road for the WNBA legend, or does she have one more comeback in her? Let's wrap this up. We've seen Taurasi benched, Clark left out, and fans staying home. So what's the deal? Is women's basketball having its aha moment, or is this just another bump in the road? Think about it. Taurasi's struggle could be a sign it's time for fresh faces. But leaving Clark off the team, that's got people scratching their heads. And those empty seats, that's not just bad luck, it's a red flag. So here's the million-dollar question. How would you fix Team USA? Who makes your dream roster? The vets with Olympic gold or the young guns lighting up the court? Maybe a mix of both. It's your turn. Who's on your Team USA? Let us know in the comments. Because right now, women's basketball needs all the help it can get.